All right, so when you're learning how to make music, you got to learn how to use a bunch of different kinds of effects, right? There's like the EQ, reverb, delay, saturation, all of this stuff. And then there's also compression. And compression can be a little bit less, I think, intuitive than other kinds of effects because, with EQ, I feel like for most people, especially if you're an audio type of person, you understand how EQ works, like your car has it. Your headphones probably have it if you got like wireless headphones. Settings you can boost or cut. You get that. And then reverb, I think most people just know what reverb is in general. So I think that's a little bit easier for people to grasp. But compression is kind of this weird thing that takes a little bit to kind of figure out. And I still feel like I can improve on how to use it. But this video is just going to be kind of how to think about compression and how to hear it, because it's really easy to just start turning knobs and kind of think that something is happening that's not actually happening. So I'm going to use TDR, this plugin, TDR Cult Livnov. It's a very good free plugin that I always mispronounce. Cult Livnov, I think that's right. But yeah, it's a very good free compressor. I've talked about it before, and we like this plugin a lot. So, this isn't really a compression tutorial, but the best way you can think about compression is it's doing the same thing that your faders are doing, but it's dynamic. So it is reacting to the incoming signal, in which case I have this guitar loop in this case. So it's reacting based on these parameters that you set here and turning up or down the signal based on that. Now, it's not turning down the whole signal. It's just turning down the things that pass the threshold. So you can think of the threshold as the amount of dB that your compressor is paying attention to. Like it won't affect anything until something in the signal passes this number, so -16. So again, this isn't really a compression tutorial because I think people can explain it better than I can. This is more of just a how to hear compression. So with this off, with this plugin bypass, so it's not doing anything, we'll play this what this sounds like. So it's a splice loop, and I intentionally picked one that's super plucky, and it has a lot of those like bop, 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 like heavy transients is basically what I'm trying to say. It's late. I'm just yapping, but heavy transients, you can really hear it. So yeah, like you can even see it in the waveform. Like it's very, very transient. So what if I kind of want to tame those peaks a little bit? Well, we can turn this on, and I've already set some settings here. Let's just hear what that sounds like. So we're not doing a ton of gain reduction. We're doing about like 5-6, not -5-6 dB of gain reduction. I have not turned the makeup gain yet. So hopefully you can hear that. So let me explain what's happening. I'm A-Bing it. If you're listening, listen to those peaks, okay? So this is turning those peaks down. Literally, that's what the gain reduction is. So that's all you have to do to hear compression, You're turning down those peaks, and it shows it right here on this compressor. So, you don't have to think of compression as any like weird thing that it's doing. All it's doing is turning down the signal when it passes this. And then every other thing here is how much. Like the ratio is like how extreme that turning down is. And then there's attack and release. Another thing I wanted to show you is I had to turn the attack a little bit faster to get these peaks, because if I turn it up, basically I should probably explain, attack and release is how fast the compressor reacts. So the attack is how many milliseconds in this case, because it says milliseconds here, will go by before the compressor starts doing its thing. And the knee kind of is also part of the attack. That's like how it fades in, but you don't need to worry about that in this one. So if I turn this attack up, and then back down, right around there is when I really start to notice it. So when I turn the attack back to make it a little bit slower, the compressor is allowing these peaks through because it's not reacting to the signal as fast. You can almost think of the attack as delaying the compressor's function. So that's kind of what this is. I was trying to get it easy to hear what the compression's doing. It's not always this easy because I picked a sample that's very plucky. The last thing I want to do is show you makeup gain. So makeup gain is after the compressor's signal, after the signal passes through the compressor, you're turning up to kind of compensate for the fact that you are making the sample quieter, aka you're compressing it, because you can think of it as like, you have your threshold set, you're chopping off those peaks. That's what this is doing, because it's turning everything down that passes, in this case, minus 16 dB. And then after that, it's already, compressed. So then we're turning it up to compensate for that. And I'm actually going to show you guys something. This compressor is nice because it has a little feature here that kind of shows you how much to make up. And make sure you use your ears too. So yeah, with that, we're getting a little bit less of the pluck and a little bit more of the thing happening underneath. Okay, so now I'm really pushing the compressor more. I turned the threshold to lower dB, so it's compressing it quicker. Ratio's all the way up, so that's more extreme. And made up, and then what I'm gonna do up here with this wet signal, we got the compressor on, is I'm going to resample it real quick by hitting Control-Alt-C. And now you can kind of see it. It's not like as clear, but if you look in the waveform right here, you can see like, this part right here on this compressed one, this is the original signal. It's louder here because that's the compression doing its job. You can see like compared to here and here, this part is louder, but these two signals, the compressed and uncompressed, are the same loudness because we gain match them. So that's my best way to explain compression, like hearing compression. Hope that helped. Have a good day.